Well, the first thing I want to say is to say thank you to Congregation Beth Israel for affording us this opportunity to talk to our future generations. Our families have been members of Beth Israel for a very long time. I came a little bit later because I was brought up in conservative congregations, 2 of them, and then when I was 12, my aunt and uncle who raised me decided that I should go to Sunday school at Beth Israel, and so I did.
I was born in the congregation Beth Israel, and it was a different place then. It was a classical Reform congregation. I was not bar mitzvah, nor was my brother bar mitzvah. Tradition wasn't a part of what we did then, and thus my mother just felt right at home. The rabbi at that time was Dr. Hammond Judah Schachtel, a really renowned Reform rabbi. And then Rabbi Karf came along and sort of saw where we were and where the Reform movement was going and saw that we were a little out of step. He got us back in step. But there was...
Much to the dismay of your mother.
Well, much to the dismay of my mother.
So we grew up very Reform.
Very classical Reform.
Very classical Reform. The first awakening was when Barry and I first got married, because he had always had a Christmas tree. We had a Christmas tree. I'd never had a Christmas tree, so it was kind of fun. But then one day our 3 sons came home from Sunday school and they said, "Aren't we Jewish?" And we said, "Yes." And we said, "So why do we have a Christmas tree?"
Boom, there went my Christmas. I lost my Christmas. So yeah, that was it. And then after that, we have a lake house up on the other side of Austin, and we were up there with some of our kids and grandkids, and their mother came bounding up the steps and said, "Come on, kids," this was Friday afternoon, "it's time for Shabbat." And I was sitting there reading the paper, and I came out of that chair like, of course it is. I knew that, because Barbara and I had not really celebrated Shabbat. And when the parents took those 2 kids and put them up on the kitchen counter with the candles and the wine and the challah, 6 and 4 years old, and they knew those prayers better than I did. That was really an awakening for me to know that this was a much better way than the way I had been brought up.
And Beth Israel has been such a big part of our lives since we were confirmed together. We were married at Beth Israel. All of our sons were bar mitzvahed at Beth Israel. And we have had so many life cycle events. It's just where we are when something wonderful or something sad happens. We're at Beth Israel.
And we're very proud of the fact that my father and one of our sons has been president of the board of the congregation, and it's a source of pride for us. So Barbara and I decided, as we were discussing our philanthropy, we said, with what little we can do, where do we concentrate it? Congregation Beth Israel is the core. This is where Judaism lives. It's 66 years into its history, and the future of the state of Israel is still in question. There's assimilation, there's anti-Semitism, there's young people that are looking for something different to do, and it's really a threat to the faith. We think that education of the young people in the Jewish faith is important, and you get that here at Beth Israel, and you get that at the Emery Weiner School, because we're educating young Jewish kids. So, we want to leave you with some thoughts, huh?
Right.
There was one thing that I want to share with you guys that Dr. Schachtel said, and it was at my father's funeral in 1980. He said something that was so profound, and it's been very helpful to me, and hopefully it will be to you when you lose a loved one or you have friends that lose a loved one. Remember these words: grief is joy remembered. Love your family, because they are precious. Do your best in whatever it is you do. Try your best to live by the golden rule. Have great integrity. You've got your name, and nobody can take it away from you but you. Keep it. It's important. And the last one is love life. Have fun, because it just goes by so fast.